Peace, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Ben, and I'm excited to bring you another yoga practice. Today's class is going to be pretty slow and low. It's a feel-good stretch session. So this class is really all about the hips and the hamstrings, but we'll end up opening a little bit throughout the whole body as well. And this is meant to be a good complement to the rest of your routine for the day. So whether you're going to the gym or doing another yoga class or going for a walk or just going to sleep, this is a nice low class that you can implement to your day if you want to just feel present and maybe feel a little bit more relaxed in your body. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and get started in a downward facing dog. Like I said, this class is pretty slow and low, so we're not going into any warrior poses from this down dog. We're actually going to kind of take it down to the mat from this down dog, but use this first posture just to see where you're at. I think the one really great thing about down dog is that it's a full body posture, so we get to feel into sensation in the lower upper body, the legs and the arms and the hands and the feet. We get to push, we get to pull. Really try to stick your butt out to lengthen through your spine. And then from here, go ahead and step the right leg through for half pigeon. Going right into a pretty deep stretch and a hip opener. As you get into your half pigeon, stay upright for a few breaths. We're not going to hold these postures for as long as we would in, say, a yin or restorative class. We're still going to give ourselves time. Go ahead, take an inhale. Exhale, slowly crawl out into a forward fold. Try to take about 3 or 4 deep breaths. Slowly begin to sit up. Sit onto your right hip so that you can wrap your left leg around for a Janu Shirshasana or a seated tree pose. From this seated tree pose, start to turn over your right leg. Sit up nice and tall with your spine, and we're going to dip into a side stretch forward fold. So the left side dips, the right side opens and extends. And this one, let's spend a few breaths here to open up our side bodies. Some of you may be able to bind your right hand onto your left foot. Some of you might feel really nice just drawing some big circles with the right arm. I don't know about you, but for me this is a pretty intense, or I suppose sensational word would be a better word. Very sensational posture to be in, so it helps me to shift, to modulate a little bit. And the little shifts and modulations and reaches, they all give me a little bit greater insight into the sensation that my body's experiencing. So really try to let this class be a moving meditation where you can not only stretch but gain awareness into your body. All right, from here, start to release this, sit up tall once again. And then pivot your way into half pigeon on the other side. So left leg goes around front, right leg wraps around back. Just like the other side, spend your first few breaths seated in upright pigeon. You can make it a small back bend if you'd like. In fact, it's a nice opportunity for a small back bend. Or maybe a larger back bend. Continue to press down through the mat with your left shin. Continue to find the mat with the top of your right foot. And then take an inhale. Exhale, slowly fold. Breathe into it. Couple more breaths. Slowly lift. Sit onto your left hip. Wrap your right leg around and find yourself in the seated tree pose, Janu Shirshasana. Turn over your left leg. Reach your left arm up to the sky. Side body stretch. Once again, take your time here. Try to continue rooting down through your left hip bone. And use that rootedness to find a foundation for your big side body stretch on the left side. Sometimes we don't know how tight we are or how much tension we have until we really explore it. And it's not a problem to be tight or to have tension or to be inflexible. These things are not problems, but they're nice to be aware of so that we can treat our bodies kindly and do what we can to help our bodies ease that tension, to help our bodies find more space to exist in. We'll begin to slowly release, and then we'll stretch the left leg out for a wide-legged seated forward fold. Now, I'll turn sideways just so I can kind of face y'all. I always feel weird when I'm facing away from the camera, you know? I'm like, oh, I'm not a part of it, you know? Anyways, wide-legged forward fold, and then draw circles with your upper body. Draw maybe 5 or 10 more circles in the direction that you're going. I'm going clockwise to start. And try to keep your thigh muscles engaged. So keep your legs pressing down into the ground a little bit. Quad muscles engaged. I like to flex the toes back to the heels. And that just makes the stretch a little bit more conscious, a little bit more active, a little bit more present. And then switch directions in your torso circles. Stay in your breath. We'll draw a handful more circles in this direction. Try to keep your spine relatively long. If it helps to use your hands, you can certainly use your hands on the ground. And then we'll go ahead and sit up nice and tall. And then we'll slowly fold forward in between both legs. Forearms to the ground or hands to the ground. We're not here for too long. What feels really nice for me, however, is to roll my ankles around. For me, rolling the ankles around brings an interesting sensation that reminds me how much everything is connected. Like, depending on which way the ankles are oriented, which way the toes are pointed, the stretch feels totally different in my hamstrings and in my hips. We'll begin to sit up. And then we'll cross the legs one over the other. I'm going to go left shin over right shin, Sukhasana, into a forward fold. So I try to get a really nice cross on the legs, so a little bit more intentional than crisscross applesauce. I try to go like knee to ankle, kind of like double pigeon, except this just isn't as much of a stretch as double pigeon, because our legs are not stacked on top of each other. So go ahead and slowly fold forward. And some of you may be able to fold totally forward, pancake your chest. Some of you may not feel any ability to fold at all. I'm kind of right in between those two polarities. I can fold a little bit. And it's quite intense for me. Wherever you find yourself, take a few breaths. And sometimes the nice thing to do here can be to just wiggle the butt. That might sound really funny. I might look so ridiculous doing this and saying this, but wiggling the butt, for me, helps me find my pelvis. And personally, I lived a lot of my life without any awareness of my pelvis, which direction it's tilted. Really, I was just like sitting on my tailbone when I would sit in chairs. Still do a lot of the time. So just wiggling the butt a little bit like that can be a very valuable and a surprisingly effective mobility movement to just be able to find the pelvis. And that's really nice in real life when we try to find a healthy seat when we're in a chair, in a car, anything like that. And really every yoga pose, it's nice to be able to kind of control the pelvis. Anyways, here I go ranting about the pelvis. Let's go ahead and switch legs. If you were with me and the left shin was in front, now the right shin is in front. Find your forward fold. Give it a couple breaths. Go ahead and sit up. Stretch the legs out in front of you. Take a couple moments in Paschimottanasana, seated forward bend. I'm actually going to go ahead and use 2 blocks under my knees to bend my knees. And you don't need the 2 blocks. You can also just bend the knees without blocks. And then I'm going to sit right onto my sitting bones instead of on my tailbone. Sit up tall, take an inhale. Exhale, fold. So for me, bending the knees allows me to find a deeper fold, a deeper hinge at my hips, which actually allows me to have a better stretch in my back. So this stretch is actually, according to some people, less about the hamstrings and more about stretching your back. And if you bend your knees, chances are you'll get a better stretch across your back. Relax your head down. Give it some time. Slowly begin to sit up. If you used blocks or any props, set them to the side. Let's meet on our bellies, where we will take Makrasana, Crocodile Pose. As you come into Makrasana, I'm about to lay on the mic, so apologies if the sound gets a little fuzzy. But we're actually going to stack one arm on top of the other and then rest our forehead on top of the top forearm. And if you have another way that you like to rest your head that's more comfortable, you can. And if you want a deeper back bend, take Sphinx pose. Right? Find a 90-degree elbow bend and then sit up into the Sphinx pose. Otherwise, let's take the Crocodile Pose. I love this pose, nice and easy on the back, and you can relieve tension by wiggling the hips or windshield wipering the legs. So let's give it some time. Try to relax the shoulders. Then switch arms. We'll release out of this pose and we'll head to child's pose for a few breaths. Set the hips back. Stretch the arms forward. Try to find a long spine. Start to sit up, and let's lay down into Savasana. As you lay down into Savasana, maybe you take a wider stance than usual, meaning maybe the legs go wider, and maybe the arms even go overhead so you can stretch the whole body. Let's take a couple minutes to find rest, to find stillness, and to just let the body open. And if you'd like a stretch on your hips during this resting period, you could always take Supta Baddha Konasana with your feet together, knees opening wide. Otherwise, just let the legs rest. Let the arms rest and try to take some nice full breaths into the belly and into the chest here. Shavasana. If your legs are long, bend your knees. Shift around a little bit, rock the body left to right. Maybe stretch through your fingers and hands. Just find some kind of movements as if you were just waking up for the day. Hug the knees in towards the chest. Then we'll slowly come up to a seated position. You can rock up or you can roll to one side and then press yourself up from there. As you come to a seated position, let's take just a few breaths together to end our practice. You can have the hands resting or at heart center. Maybe you close the eyes. Before we breathe, roll the neck around a few times. Stretch through the sides of your neck. And then come back to seated. Take a full breath in. Pause at the top. Full breath out. Full breath in. Pause. Breath out. Full breath in. Pause. Breath out. Full breath in. Pause. breath out. Bring the hands to heart center. We'll close practice with a simple bow. Much love, my friends. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a blessed rest of your day. If you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, leave them in the comments. And I hope to see you soon here at Daily Sadhana. Peace.